Welcome, AfterBuzzers. You are watching the after show for Notorious, episode 5 called Missing. Tonight we're joined by J. August Richards. Stay tuned for more.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome, fans. We had to roll in with this one. Let's go half on a baby. My name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
My name is Becca Brown. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
My name is Mariann Shaginian. You guys can find me at all social media sites at Mariann_Shag.
Hi guys, I'm Yemi Abyomi. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ayemyems.
And Mr. Richards.
Hey. Ready? Here we go. My name is Jake August. You can find me on Twitter at Jake August Richards.
Yeah.
And Instagram.
Nice.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah.
My pleasure.
So awesome to have you here.
Nice.
What a crazy
That
episode.
was.
They've all been crazy. They're always things are always happening. But we started off with this episode with the aftermath of Levi Young committing suicide on Julia. Just totally
Literally.
like suicide on someone. And so she's a little bit shaken up. What did you guys think about that? Just kind of coming to this episode and how the last one ended.
I liked seeing her, like the impact it had on her and how it affected like the way she wanted the news stories of the day to go out.
Yeah.
I thought it was so interesting because, we always talk about how she says, the show comes first, the show comes first. But in this instance, that event made her a little bit hesitant to air the Levi story or to trade off of the Levi suicide. So it was the first time we really saw a tension between does the show come first or kind of being sensitive to what just happened.
Yeah, especially whenever she didn't actually want to show the clip initially. I could see like a different side to her, definitely, because you see her struggling within herself, but she's having a hard time opening up to people too and letting them know like how she's feeling inside.
Yeah, it was like the first time we saw a traumatized Julia, but immediately Jake is pouncing on this opportunity, and so he wants to pin this on Levi. What do you think about how I guess the lawyers are reacting in the situation?
Wow. I mean, so I guess we ended the last episode with Levi's suicide, and it's funny because I always think of things from a production standpoint, and I think about how hard that scene was for them to shoot. Just this, they kind of had one stab at it because it messed up her hair and her makeup and her clothes and everything. So then I think also about her. We got an interesting tweet tonight. I just came from live tweeting with the cast and the producers, and so there's that scene where she's scrubbing the blood off of her shoes, and someone tweeted, "You can't get blood out of suede." I was like, how do you know that?
I love that she was trying to get the blood out. She's like, I'm not throwing away the shoes. We're just going to try to rinse this out.
Right.
Yeah.
Paid good money for those shoes.
Exactly.
She wants to keep them.
But yeah, so this episode, so it just kind of continues, and we get Drake trying to really pin this on Levi, and then Julia's got this sort of crisis of conscious. What did you guys think about this crisis in this particular situation?
It's just a different side of her than we've seen, and I remember 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we were talking about like if something like this were to happen, would she put the show first or would she put like someone else first?
And I think a lot of you guys said that she would put that person first, right?
I've always thought that the show comes first with Julia.
Yeah.
That's why I was really surprised today that she didn't want to air the Levi video and that she wasn't really going for ratings.
Well, you see,
that was always a focus to me.
Louise had to cuss her out last week about putting the show first all the time. So when it came to the beheading video, so maybe Julia is changing a little bit in terms of like always putting the show first, possibly.
Yeah, but then we did see her get back, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to air this video about Levi. It's his death, his suicide." But the minute she had the chance and it would amp things up, she went for it.
Right.
She saw a moment.
So was that all kind of just like bull? Is that?
I think it's a toss-up. I think it just in the moment it just happens. But she knew. I think initially she knew that she didn't want to show it because she already saw Levi like shoot himself. Really like sensitive subject. She's having a hard time with it. But then in the middle of the show, with the way it was going, she just kind of thought, like, I have to do this.
Yeah, and she surprises this new character, Max Guilford.
Yeah.
The new DA.
DA, yes.
Yeah. For you, how is it working with, when you get these new characters that come in, like, does that change the set, and how does the dynamic change?
You know, I absolutely love that you asked that question, because this is the most unique job I've ever had, because I have only worked with about 30% of the cast, obviously. Maybe not obviously, but really I've only ever done scenes with Jake and with Ella. You know, they're two very distinct sides to the show, two very distinct worlds, the media side and the legal side. So I haven't crossed over to the other side yet, so I haven't... oops. Spoiler alert. Oh, no.
Breaking news.
Right. But, yeah, so we'll leave it at that right now. Yeah, so I haven't, you know, as far as you know, I haven't worked with the DA yet. But, yeah.
Well, we had to figure it out. We're coming in some extent, yeah.
Right, exactly.
And so, but we got this new case, which was kind of interesting, the surrogate mother case, which took a very weird twist.
Took a lot of twists.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's why we chose Half on a Baby.
Yeah, exactly. It did have some connection to the episode, guys. There were so many complex legal issues. For you as an actor, how much do you get down into the nitty-gritty of the legal stuff that you guys were discussing?
Well, what was awesome about the writing in this episode, which I thought was really great, was that it really paralleled a personal track for Jake and for for it really kind of was relevant to our story as brothers, in terms of, you know, Jake being in the foster care system, him being adopted as well. So the whole case just really kind of, you know, opened up that conversation for the two characters, which there's no tension or weirdness between he and I, our characters, regarding our family, none whatsoever, but it just brought up certain things for him about his time in the foster care system. And for me, it was really interesting, because in taking on this character, I ended up doing a lot of research on adoption, believe it or not, because for me, the character is less about the law and less about the media and only about family. That's the only way that I approach the characters. Like, my character is dedicated to preserving his family legacy. Our law firm was given to us by our father, and my dream in life is to give that law firm to my son someday. So for me, all the cases, all of that stuff is only about allowing the law firm to continue and to become bigger, and for us to have scholarship funds and buildings and libraries with the Gregorian name on it. You know, I think about the Medici family back in the 1500s. He wants to be like that kind of royal family. And so that's kind of how I approach the character. And
you've been his emotional support. You've been the one that watches out for his well-being. And it was good to see that extra layer of character, because we started to see a lot on the other side with, you know, Louise and finding out more stuff about Julia, but we didn't see it that much on the lawyer's side.
Right.
And I love that scene, because when it opens up and he sees that he's opened that box,
yes,
you know, you know there's more there. What did you guys think about that deepening of that background story for these two?
I loved it. I feel like in these past couple of episodes, we've been seeing more growth in the characters. We saw Louise and, you know, her very substantive and solid background, even though she appears as, you know, very fun and just fun of a character. We see that there's more to her. With Julia, again, we're now starting to get into something more serious, where we see how she's impacted. It's not just about the show, but, you know, she has these feelings and conflicts as well. And so now we get the chance to see Jake's background and your background, and because I personally, as a viewer, always wondered what they're brothers, but how are they brothers? How are they related? What's the story here? And so it was great to get that insight.
It's so amazing. I mean, there's so much around this whole conversation about him and I being brothers, because I find that it, interestingly enough, makes people uncomfortable a little bit. Like, I noticed the night when we first debuted, and I said, Jake, as your brother, I need to, and a lot of tweets were like, brother? Now, Daniel and I are clearly aware we don't look a dang thing alike. And honestly, I typed myself out for the role. When I audition for typing out is when you decide you're not right for something. So I got the audition, I saw the name of the show, I looked online, and I saw Daniel was cast. I was like, I can't play this cat's brother. No way. But at the same token, the reason why I say it makes people uncomfortable, because I think in a lot of African American families, we have siblings that we don't have the same complexion.
Yeah.
You know, now Daniel and I take it to another level, because not only do we not have the same complexion, we don't share a single, you know, feature, eye color, shape of the nose, shape of the face, nothing about us. We share nothing in common, looks-wise.
I thought he was maybe your half brother, you know.
So that's why I say it makes
know,
people uncomfortable, because they're like, half, adoption, what's the deal here? Yeah.
Or are they just using it as a term of endearment as to someone they're super close with? Because people do that.
That too.
Are you frat brothers?
But that was the thing, is I felt the connection between you two guys, like, as brothers, so I just, like, took it. I was like, you know what, I guess you're not going to explain it. So they're brothers. I was like, there was good to see an explanation behind what was happening.
Right.
It
I love that.
strengthened so much in this episode, and I don't know, it's just, by the end, like, I like love no matter what kind of love it is, so.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's also, like, for me, and I know I'm probably jumping ahead, but the very last line that I had, I actually wrote that line, because I did not a lot of research, but I have a very dear friend who is in similar circumstances as our characters. He was, you know, his adopted brother was in the picture before he was born. So his parents had adopted a child who, interestingly enough, was African American. He's Caucasian. And then, so they had this older brother. He had this older brother before he was born. Then he was born into the family. And I asked him, like, what is that like? Because, you know, what's the dynamic like there? And he goes, he told me that, you know, he felt like there's always a little part of his brother that he held from him, that he kept sort of removed. And that has become very valuable for me in the playing of this character, because there are times when Jake is keeping secrets from me. And having done that research, I realized that there might be a part of me that's constantly trying to make Jake feel like, this is us, man. Like, we are a family. Like, there's no questions here.
Yeah, there's got to be that tension of being, I guess, the native son, and then wanting to make him feel.
And I asked him if he ever felt some sort of guilt about that. And he said, yeah, you know, so I use all of that. So when we did that scene, I told the writer, I was like, you know, this case really has to cut to the fabric of everything that we are, of our whole family, of our entire existence. So I can't leave it at, because the way it was written in the script, the last thing I said was, well, you know, being in foster care made you a better lawyer. It's like, no. We got to go one step further. And I was like, what if I said, you know, I don't know who I'd be if you weren't my brother. Yeah.
Because he defines you as a person.
I can't imagine my life without you. Is essentially what.
Yeah, this was full of emotional scenes for you, because we finally get, you know, poor Jenna Polly is in this awful situation. Her baby's been sold, but not really, and, you know, they've been, you know, talking about the miscarriage. And so it looks like the lawyer's trying to double deal here and try to make a lot more money and take advantage of this young girl.
She might have been triple dealing.
She was going to do whatever she could.
Right.
She just left the minute she got caught. I love that. She was just like on the run.
She's like, bye.
But we finally get, I guess, you know, CPS finally decides, you know, they got to give the baby away to CPS. How was that scene for you? Because that was an emotional scene of having to take this baby from the mother.
Yeah, that was awesome, because for me, I decided that the baby was Jake. And I feel like sometimes in life, like when something happens that you can't fix, something happened in the past, you look for new circumstances and new situations to correct the past. So I looked at the baby as Jake, and I was like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that this baby never goes to foster care, because I know what happened to Jake when he was in foster care. So if I can keep this baby out of foster care, then maybe a little bit of the past is corrected a little bit. So that's how I looked at it.
That's awesome. I just love that whole tenor of that scene. What do you guys think of it?
As you pointed out, the parallels, like, everything about that was just hurtful, I think is the word to describe it. Like,
it's very emotional.
Yeah, emotional. Very much so.
I'd agree. I think when you're talking about, first off, even just carrying a baby, giving birth to it, and then, and you could tell, like, even just the emotion of Jenna Polly, you know, what's going to happen to this baby? I feel like I'm the only one who cares for it. And the struggle that she had in terms of, I don't want to put it into the foster care system, similar to your feelings as well. It seems like everyone was on the same page in terms of Jake and your character and Jenna's. They don't want to enter it into the foster care system, but what can we do, and how can we utilize our resources or the legal system or the tricks up our sleeves, which is really what it always comes down to on this show, to figure out the best place to place the baby. So I was curious to see how are they gonna fix this.
I'm just hoping she gets the rest of that $50,000 or even a little bit more. I was like, what about the rest of the money?
Right. Right. But sidebar, how amazing was she?
Oh yeah.
She was amazing. She was so good. Oh, she was so great to work with too.
Yeah. Who's that actress?
Very much.
Cause she reminded me of the one from Medium. I don't know if she was
She reminds you of Patricia Arquette?
No, the daughter from Medium.
That was her.
That's her from. Okay.
Yeah. Can we do
That's
it? That's her.
Okay.
Wait, Medium. Hold on. Is that the name of the show?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Medium.
Wow.
With Patricia Arquette.
Yeah. Yeah, that's her.
That is her. Because I was
Will
like, is
you
that
check,
her?
please? Thank you.
Get one of our engineers to look it up for us. But yeah, so we got Max Guilford, and now they look like they're introducing him as a love interest. And I always keep thinking of Julia and Jake being together, and then they keep introducing these new love interests for her that seem valid. I'm like, where is the show going?
It seemed valid. I like that.
I can't wait for a love triangle to happen on this show.
That's the thing. I feel like they're really, really toeing the line between like the desire of the fans to see something happen with Jake and Julia, because we love their close relationship. We love the fact that they trust each other so much. We love the fact that they're they have each other's back and they're open to each other. So you kind of, knowing that they have a sound basis in their friendship, you kind of want to see that evolve into more. And I don't know. I don't know if the producers are just playing with us and toying with us by introducing these new characters who, as you know, like are attractive and
it was kind of weird to me because they introduced the DA kind of more of like a attraction to Julia, and in this episode with that introduction, there was a lot more tension between Jake and Julia.
Yeah,
that's right. You're absolutely right.
There was a lot of tension and like back and forth. Yeah, it was interesting to see.
Because we've not seen them so far really have that kind of weird, that weird tension. We've not really seen that over the course of these episodes, and it does coincide with the entrance of Max.
I think one of my favorite parts, though, between Jake and Julia in this episode was when, like, Jake found Julia sitting, like, alone, and she's like...
Like that's your best friend. Like who knows your spot?
Exactly.
Like,
who knows your spot?
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Ironically, her spot looked like my spot because that looks like that looks like the place on when you're hiking to the Hollywood sign.
I was thinking that. I was like, I've been there before, maybe,
Right.
Yeah.
And so we also got Oscar Keating getting the big revelation that his buddy Jake has been, with the wife.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about
Sidebar,
that?
yes, that is Sophia.
Yeah.
It is her? Oh,
yes.
It is her.
Okay.
Yes.
She reminds me of that girl.
Yes, that is her.
She's awesome. I love her.
She is.
It's good to see her grow. I like watching actors grow. And speaking of which, you were Angel with one of my favorite shows. So like I had to say that real quick.
Thank you so much.
Segue.
Thanks.
What did you guys think about that bombshell, Oscar discovering what happened with Jake?
I was so excited to see what he was gonna do, because there's a pause in the scene after he shows Jake the video. I'm sorry, shows Jake the picture.
Yeah.
And then I was, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna yell at him? Is he gonna hit him? I was ready. So I love the genuine reaction of the punch.
Yeah.
And I did want to see what was Jake's going to say. How was he going to explain himself? Which he couldn't clearly.
Yeah.
All that was going through my mind was, you're already in jail, please don't hit him.
That's right.
Good point.
He's under so much stress because first off, he's lost his wife, he's been arrested at his wife's funeral, he's been sitting in jail, and now you find out that your lawyer
has the person who's defending him.
And on top of that, and then the Vicky, the
Sweet
girl,
Vicky.
sweet Vicky, you find out
Your
that was your
right.
I think a punch is the least of the things that he could have done in that moment. That was tame.
Yeah, I'm surprised
I'm
surprised the cell wasn't a mess or anything like the whole movie.
And I would just like to point out, in the pilot in episode 1, Bradley predicted all of this was going to happen. Bradley said, you cannot represent Oscar. You can't do this.
Yeah. He did. Yes.
Exactly. But what I love about Bradley is that he never judges.
Yeah.
Even though he told you so. I watch every episode. I've watched it get worse and worse, and I noticed that about Bradley, because I personally would be like, I told you.
Yeah.
But Bradley never does that. So.
Ooh.
We got to find out more about why is Bradley so sage and wise.
He's
and
such
like,
the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Because even in the top of
Yes,
the episode
yeah.
where, you know, he was like, Jake, you know, we can't just take on any and every case. We can give a referral. Let's think this through to make sure that this is the best thing for the firm.
Right.
Definitely the voice of reason.
Because I think because Bradley knew that this was going to bring up feelings for Jake that he's not, you know, that he hasn't dealt with, and that's why when you saw the scene when we come in early in the morning and I look over and notice that he's been going through this box with pictures of our family, that this is opening up a can of worms for him that he's not prepared to deal with. So Bradley, I kind of jokingly and not jokingly say that Bradley is an empath.
Yeah,
like he can really, especially with Jake, like especially with a sibling, somebody you know well, you've grown up with, you know their moods, you know their feelings, so he can predict what Jake is going to feel, what Jake is going to do. But Daniel and I often talk about one of the cool things of our relationship as brothers is that we switch roles about who is the parent, who is the older sibling, you know, which one is in charge right now. We change that
Depending on what's happening.
Yeah, depending on what's happening.
I was gonna ask, do we know yet which one of you is older? Because I feel
it
like
hasn't been said on the air. No,
you definitely come off as the protector. So I would think that you would be older, but I don't know.
I've assumed that you were the younger one, but that, you know, he's just got some flaws. He's just deeply flawed and deeply scarred.
Going through a lot.
Then who's deeply scarred and deeply flawed?
That Jake is deeply scarred.
Right.
And so that was my assumption, but
I guess we'll find out. Unless you want to share.
Well, it's not been said. We haven't really. I mean, there were times when we talked about it. I don't know where we are with that right now. Yeah, you know, TV acting lately, I've come to discover is like I look at it as a document on your computer that you're constantly editing and revising. So you know, I don't like to answer questions that I'm not too sure about because then they could just switch it on me, and I'm you know, and I've given the wrong answer, and I don't want to do that. So.
How surprised do you get when you're kind of going through the script or going through episodes? You're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, or
very, very. Especially with a new show because you know things are being worked out and stuff like that. So sometimes I get surprised from a structural standpoint or from a character standpoint, or so I get surprised for a lot of different reasons, and sometimes from a plot standpoint.
Yeah, because we've been, this show was full of twists and turns.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the introduction of the new DA is going to kind of upset the balance between, because, you know, Jake and Julia, they obviously they play off each other very well in terms of how Jake is using the media and how Julia uses Jake for, you know, for the breaking news story. And so I'm curious to see how that DA is going to kind of upset that balance. And
I think we saw a little bit of that saltiness when he was like, wait, you guys had lunch, and, you know, whether or not you went and told my secret to the DA, there's already a little bit of that competitiveness going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see how that explodes, and I guess we should probably go into our predictions.
Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. This lighting cue.
Yemi, do you want to give us your predictions?
I predict that this new DA is really going to start ruffling some feathers. We can see that he was really even though he said I'm not good on TV, but you could tell that he was very composed and like well put together. And I just think that he's going to be coming out with some tricks up his sleeve that are going to again upset that dynamic between Jake and Julia and throw them off some of their planned, I guess, ways of working together.
Yeah. I totally agree with that, especially with the promo for next week. Whenever it's like, oh, find more information on Jake. I don't feel like Jake is the murderer. I don't think he killed Sarah, but I feel like it's gonna add a lot of tension and cause a lot of conflict.
Yeah. He's definitely gonna be a suspect. I want the voice of reason over there to come in and be like, hey, Jake, you should like tell Julia your feelings for her because he's definitely in love, kind of.
You think Jake is in love with Julia?
Kind of.
Really?
You don't think he's still caught up on Sarah?
Yeah, he might still be a little caught up.
Yeah,
I think he's in a very fragile emotional state right now.
I think both Julia and Jake are in a really fragile state.
But they keep leaning on other people instead of each other.
I think they should lean on each other, yeah.
I think the DA is going to break down Julia's guard because she's obviously a little bit on guard because of her previous relationship with the judge.
Well, my prediction is she and this guy are gonna get together. She and the DA are gonna be super
it's
super
gonna be
solid.
they're gonna get together.
But it's gonna be.
If I know ABC, it's gonna be steamy.
But there's gotta be a big flaw in this guy's past or something that he does that so upsets that relationship that she's gotta break up and then run back to Jake. So you're gonna see.
Jake's gonna be there to comfort her.
Yeah, I think. Well, it was sort of like the other guy, that obviously she's engaged. I think she was engaged, right? And then she finds out the guy was with the different prostitutes.
Yeah.
Right?
The
Escort service. So I think it's gonna be something like that, where it's the past, something in his past that's deep, that's gonna end up breaking that relationship too. So we can zoom in on your face to see like some yeses or no.
And I'm going to play poker after this, so I'm working on my poker face right now.
Okay.
Yeah, what are your
neutral
predictions?
question though. I'm
Yes.
just curious to know how far in advance do you know, like how far in advance do you know like what is happening on the show? Like do they keep surprises from you guys? Is there a way for them to do that?
Yes, absolutely. We don't get any sort of preview about anything that's coming. Right now, we're probably on episode 10, or we're starting 10 next week, I guess. And that was episode what? 4?
5. Yeah.
5.
5? That was the 5th episode? That was the 5th episode. Yes. Or was it the 6th? Oh, the 5th.
That was
whatever.
5, yeah.
Yes, okay, cool. So 5th episode, yes. So we're about 5 episodes ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're way ahead. So I know a lot of answers to what you're asking. But I have a great poker face. Yes.
As a lawyer, he will plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Right.
As a viewer.
Yes.
What relationship romantically are you rooting for? You got Ryan and Ella. We got Jake and Julia. Just as a viewer, are there any relationships romantically that you're like, oh, I'd like to see them together?
Well, Ryan and Ella are together.
Yeah, they are officially together now. Yeah.
Have sealed that deal.
Right. So, I like to stay in character. So I'd say from my character standpoint, I know that my character probably feels like Julia is the woman that his brother should end up with, but he's not ready for all that yet.
Yeah.
He's still, I knew he was going to sleep with Sarah, he did, and so I know my brother. He's not ready for that yet, but I would like to see them together. I'm sure my character is very fond of Julia. I haven't, we sat next to each other at the funeral scene, but we haven't had a scene together, but I'm sure my character is very fond of Julia.
Who would you like to see with Bradley?
No one on the show.
Not Julia? Julia? Maybe we had a bombshell prediction.
Without giving anything away, I don't think there's anyone on the show for me to date. I don't think.
Yeah,
Really?
There's
Megan,
Megan.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
there's
say.
Megan.
Yeah.
There's her. Yeah. There's her. Absolutely.
There's
I
Megan.
mean,
We
but
know
she's in
Louisa
a whole
has a
nother
penchant
world.
for younger men.
This is true. Okay, yeah, I mean, all right, maybe if she was ready to change her ways, possibly, but she seems footloose and fancy free right now.
Okay, so
Louise,
Bradley
that
wants
is.
someone who's a bit more committed. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because the way I see Bradley is I think that he's looking for someone to start a family with.
Yeah.
Like he needs to come up with these children to pass the business on to. Yeah. So, I mean, assuming he doesn't have any, or that he's not married. Yeah. Assuming that he's not married.
So, well, we gotta find. I mean, I feel
or in
like
a relationship.
I feel like next episode we'll find out a lot more because if Jake is locked up, Bradley's got to kind of step up.
Who said anything about Jake being locked up?
He
we saw him in handcuffs in the previews for next week. He's in handcuffs.
Oh,
damn.
Oh, interesting. That was in the preview. Interesting.
Now,
so then, if that happens, who do you think his lawyer is going to be?
So exactly, I'm assuming Brad's going to step up. So I'm hoping we get more of the story behind, because we don't know that much of your background on the show yet.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So that should be exciting to find out some more there.
It's
Quick question from Kina on the chat is, you mentioned you haven't worked with everyone on the show yet. Who's someone you would like to be in a scene with?
Oh, I will. I'd love to be. I love all of my cast members. I'd love to be in a scene with each and every one of them. But right now, I would love to work with Piper. We've never worked together. I'd love to. I think she's great. She's fantastic. She's so much fun. And, she's so sweet. On my birthday, she went to Google and found out it was my birthday. And when I arrived at work, she had a cupcake in my trailer and a card, which was the sweetest thing. You know, and there are a bunch of Virgos in our cast. I think there were 4 of us. There's Ryan Guzman, who's a Virgo. Seppi is a Virgo. I am a Virgo. And I think we have one more Virgo, but I can't remember who it is. Is it Kevin? But she did the same thing for all of us. She found our birthdays on Google and just surprised us like that. So I'd love to work with her.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the casting call was like, only Virgos.
50% Virgos, yes, because we need everything to be just so. We need everything right where it belongs. Yes, that's what we do.
Yeah. That's how it worked.
Do you have anything more from our chat? I like that plot twist. Bradley sweeps Julia off her feet. I like that.
That scene might be closer than we think.
That's the triangle you'd want to see.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I would like to see Bradley with Megan.
That could work. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Megan might be seeing somebody already, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there's more to know about Bradley.
Yeah.
So it's possible that there's, a character that's not been introduced on the show just yet.
Oh.
That is, he has a situation happening on his own off camera that we don't know it yet.
Exactly. Like, I have this whole life for Bradley that happens the minute he leaves the office, and it involves a lot of dollar bills.
Yeah.
I want to see his home life now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, me too. I have an idea of what it is in my own mind, but oftentimes that's not what the writers envision for you.
Especially on a show like this, I feel like they just keep giving you those little twists and turns and more extra information that inform each character.
And that's why I say it's like a document that's on your laptop that you're constantly revising and editing, because I make the most off-the-wall extreme choices when I start, and I only change them when I need to based upon what's been written. So, yeah.
How much do the writers suggest to you kind of, this is how you should think about this character, this is the frame of mind that we are writing this character in, versus you as the person portraying that character, do you say, this is how I'm reading it, this is how I think it should go? How does that work out? What's the balance between the writers and the actors portraying a character?
It's like a conversation without words, very much. It's like you get a script, and then there are, choices in that script for you, things that have been chosen and, decisions that have been made about your character. And then there's ones that are not present. There are, there's 99 things for every one thing that has been chosen. There's 99 things that have not. So then it becomes my job to make choices about what can influence or strengthen that choice, or totally go against it. And so then I come with my ideas, and now I try to put those ideas in the conversation, in the scene, and then hopefully a writer sees it and picks up on that and is like, did you notice how Bradley had that moment with Jake where he could feel what he said before he even said it, and then maybe that happens again in the next script. And so, or maybe someone comes into the office and I give a look, and someone sees it and goes, did you see that look he gave? And then maybe it gives them an idea or not. Maybe they've always known what they want to do with something. So I always have my very specific ideas about who I'm playing and what I'm playing, even before the writers share with me what they're thinking. And for every other role I've ever played, I feel like I have very much steered the character in the direction that I want it to go in. If that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think what I find interesting is that there's so much craziness going on, but it's very grounded. Did you guys get a chance to talk to Gegaros or Larry King or those people that were involved in this kind of thing?
Yes, I read Mark's book. Yeah. Mark is he's around a lot. He wrote a book called Mistrial with his partner, and so I read the book. I got a lot out of that. I mean, this is like my 6th lawyer that I've played, right? So all the other characters were prosecutors, and it was in playing a prosecutor. It's a totally different objective. There's something totally different that a person, I feel, their worldview is completely different than a defense attorney. So reading the book helped me to get in that spirit. I learned a lot of cool things about the misperception of defense attorneys, that they're constantly trying to get guilty people off, which is not the truth, So, and then definitely playing somebody who comes from a different background than mine, like somebody who's come from a sort of a wealthier background. And there's just a lot of elements to the character that, I have all of these conversations in my head about who Bradley is, and hopefully they'll make it onto the camera one of these days, but we'll see.
Besides the line tonight, is there any other like lines that we've seen so far that you've improvised?
No, but there's another really big one coming up that I'm really hoping makes it into the script. Like tonight, when I saw they used that line, I jumped up and down. I was so happy that they kept it because it really meant something to me. You know, I really wanted that line in there. And there's an episode coming up. I can't talk too much about it, but there's something that I feel very strongly about that I tried to put into the piece. Something that I feel, you know, that's very important to me and I know would be more important to Bradley. And so I'm hoping that I can convince them to put it in there.
So I love that the episodes are, to some degree, a surprise to you guys. You're not sure what they keep, what they cut.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's always a surprise. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
not always a good one, not always a pleasant one.
So I guess we'll find out a lot more about Bradley on the next episode. We just want to really thank you for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's
It's a pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next for Bradley.
I know. I hope you guys out there really enjoyed watching. My name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
My name is Becca Brown. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
My name is Mariann Shaginian. You guys can find me on Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter at Mariann_Shag.
My name is Yemi Abyomi. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ayemyems.
Where can they find you, Jay?
And I'm J. August Richards, and you can find me on Twitter at J. August Richards, and J is just an initial, just a single letter, August, just like the month, Richards, and that's the same on Instagram. And on Facebook, I'm official J. August Richards.
Well, we know where to find you now.
Boom. Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us. Download us on iTunes. Give us 5 stars, and we love to hear your comments, your tweets.
Yes.
So we'll see you guys here, same time, same place next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.